episode 110 of BigRedBarel Geek Speak, your place for all your nerdy needs on BigRedBarel.com. I am your host, Lauren, the badass of Borderlands, and with me as always is our Santi Alex,
the Death of Butts,
the Baroness of Butts, bequeaths the death of Butts. Why are Butts dying today?
Well, later it will be discovered.
Oh.
I thought you'd been sitting down too long.
That is also true.
And you can hear the dulcet tones of the dangerously darling Diarmuid.
Hello there.
Okay, kicking off with the time waste of the week, and this is one from you, Diarmuid.
Yeah, this is a weird one that I just kind of spotted, and I thought it was kind of funny. So there is, according to the Los Angeles Metro, there seems to be an epidemic of bad behavior on the public transport, with people either manspreading, blocking up the lanes in the middle, you know, the usual stuff.
Wait. Hang on. What is manspreading?
Have you never heard of manspreading?
You've never heard of manspreading?
Oh my god. So you know when you're on the
so
tube.
dirty.
It's not dirty, unfortunately. It's not that fun.
But it sounds so dirty. That's what it does.
Right, you
the
know when
image
you
is
sat...
in my head. Yeah, sorry, go on.
Okay, so you know when you sat on the tube and there's a dude who's like, he's sat next to you or opposite you and his legs are like as far wide as possible that he's pretty much on the next two seats?
Oh, okay. Well, that does make
Yeah.
a lot of sense, but Jesus.
It's like his balls are that big, you need to like almost in the splits on the seats. That's manspreading. When I've sat down a few times, it's just like, I've got quite an ample bum. I will fill the seat. And it's just like, oh, there's your leg. Nah, there's no room for your leg. Fuck you, mate. Get it back over there. Your balls ain't that big. Carry on, mate.
Yes, so...
See, Joe is not here, but Lauren fills right back in with morning rants.
Lauren also has opinions in the morning, clearly.
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah, I may be still drunk. I don't know. I worked quite late last night and drank a lot.
So, as well as drunken and disorderly conduct on the tube, which is, I'm sure, something Lauren did not partake in, the Los Angeles Metro, they released these kind of PSA videos, and it's not the usual thing. So what they seem to have done is they have created a new public transport champion called Superkind, a magical girl superhero who has these short videos. There's a series of them. These short videos as she's traveling around on the metro in LA, and she basically bursts into these kind of J-pop songs about how you should be better and more considerate on the underground and public transport in general. And she kind of, like, the video that I watched was about aisle blocking.
Yeah, I just clicked on it and it's very, very kawaii.
It's very Sailor Moon. Like the whole movement of how she changes into, I don't know.
Exactly. So it's I watched it and I was like, no, that's actually kind of funny. So I thought, let's spread the love to all of the Geek Speak listeners. And there's a few videos. I've only watched a few, but yeah, they're good.
Everyone needs to learn better manners on tube, any public transport system, because it's polite and it's nice, and everyone should be nice to each other on the tubes because they're not a nice place, really. They're quite decrepit and disgusting. So,
and full
if
of
we all had a
germs.
few more manners, full of Germans.
Germs.
Oh, what?
Let's not
Full
be
of
racist
Germans.
now.
That's very specific. Yeah, so if everyone was a bit more considerate on public transport, I think the world would be a better place.
Oh man, there's a lot of them, those videos. They look awesome.
Yeah,
That's
give them
what
a watch.
I'm doing with my afternoon. Okay. Let us know your favourite one using the hashtag GeekSpeak at BigRedBarel. And we're going on to the news. So, first up, EA is shutting down Visceral.
Yay!
This is
So EA is shutting down its Visceral game studios and making major changes to the team in development Star Wars project. EA Executive Vice President Patrick Sunderland announced... Oh, that's the end of the sentence. Sorry. Yeah, so Patrick Sunderland announced this week. A development team from across EA Worldwide Studios will take over development of the game, led by an EA Vancouver, which has already been working on the project.
Yeah.
So it's an unnamed Star Wars project, I'm guessing.
Yeah, this is the one. So if you remember a few years back when Uncharted 4 started production, it wasn't going very long when it turned out that Amy Hennig, like the person who basically wrote all the previous ones, was let go by Naughty Dog, and she left. We still don't know the circumstances of that, but I remember being very disappointed at the time. And then shortly afterwards, it turned out that EA had gotten the rights to the Star Wars games. And suddenly there was this big headline saying that Amy Hennig is joining Visceral Games to make a Star Wars game. And that was like, it had me fangirling, I'll say that much. Yeah. Because I've loved her games. She's responsible, obviously, for Uncharted. But she was also responsible for Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver. And that was a fantastic game from PlayStation 1. You know, and in terms of story, at least, I really enjoyed it. So, like, I was really excited for this. I don't know if you guys have read the press release that EA put out regarding this, but pretty much everything in it kind of points to them pivoting away from doing a kind of a single player story-led game and either turning towards multiplayer or turning towards kind of almost a Destiny or some sort of a shared world experience, basically focused more on multiplayer than the story-driven stuff, which is disappointing.
It's actually quite interesting to try to read between the lines of what Patrick Sunderland has announced, because he was like, we're shifting the game to broader experience that allows for more variety and player agency, which does sound a lot like something, you know, they took linear experiences and you add all of that, and you'd have more multiplayer Destiny kind of mixture thing, you know, leaning into the capabilities of our Frostbite engine. Seriously, if I hear EA executives mention Frostbite engine again, I'm just gonna, you know, rip hairs out of my head, because come on, it's not all that. Frostbite engine is good, but stop mentioning it like it's the holiest of the whole and you have to change all your games to like satisfy the engine rather than the engine satisfying the games. I think it's really sad, and after this news announced, very sadly for me, but I think I'm leaning very much to this conclusion as well, everyone went to like, well, BioWare is next on the chopping block. And I kind of had to think about it, and some of it is probably me talking out of my ass and really not knowing what I'm talking about. But it does seem a little bit fishy, you know, when open world was all that and every game was open world, they suddenly changed Dragon Age and Mass Effect to open world games. The games that did have, they were exactly that. What Amy Hennig was doing with Star Wars, they were pretty much linear experiences with, you know, there was some decision making to do and kind of dialogue choices, and depending on your decisions, different things would happen to a certain extent, but still they were very much a linear story with a beginning and an end, right? And then suddenly they are trying to fit all of this in an open world with the stories and the type of thing they're not really famous for. They're trying to redo that in open world. And now suddenly you also have Anthem, and it looks like, to me, it looks like BioWare is just trying to buy its time to pay off EA and be like, okay, you want Destiny? Here you go. Anthem, come on. Be quiet. We have this. We're making this game. Just be happy. Lay off.
I think the good news for you, I believe,
yes,
at least this is not good news, but an opinion that I hope you take on board, is the fact that I don't think BioWare are in as much trouble. And I have two reasons for saying that. Number one, the first piece was Jason Schreier. He's an investigative game journalist working at Kotaku. Yeah. Exactly. He had some sources that basically told him that it wasn't he kind of had this tweet basically saying that despite all of the hot takes today, everything he heard about was not actually to do with EA pivoting away from single player games, that it was some other reason. So that was one thing as to why Visceral was being closed down. The other thing is, BioWare had Andromeda, which didn't perform very well. That was kind of it. Their other stuff has been doing well enough. Visceral Games, though, the last few games they've been working on include Battlefield Hardline, which did not sell. That was kind of a poison chalice that they got thrust with by EA, so I don't know if that was entirely their fault either. But they had Battlefield Hardline, they had Dead Space 3, which was a huge disappointment for the fans and I don't think sold very well. And they also got lumbered with the God of War mimic Dante's Inferno. Despite coming out with Dead Space and this new Star Wars game when it does come out, their history isn't quite as... I wouldn't put it up there with BioWare in terms of their successes. In which case, I don't think BioWare are quite at the level of, or that they're as much trouble as Visceral Games are. at least in my opinion. But that's not to say that they're not in trouble, but I don't know what the hell EA are thinking. I didn't think they'd really need to pivot away this game or shut down an entire developer, but there's clearly more to the story that we don't know, so I'm just kind of...
Yeah.
It might not be because of the whole pivot away from single player, especially because, at least this year alone, the amount of single player games that are already in my current Game of the Year list is huge, and the top one being Horizon. So, there's clearly a want for single player games, at least from the more hardcore players. So I'm hoping it doesn't mean that they're pivoting away from single player games, but we'll have to wait and see.
To me, it looks like they've actually given up on giving companies second chances. I mean, for kind of more detailed look on this, you can listen to BRBK, and they go through the whole list of the companies that EA closed. But to me, again, it shows I very much blame EA as a publisher for what happened to Andromeda and what they've done to it and how they presented it to the public and the whole EA access that they shouldn't have done. And then as soon as that underperformed, they closed the BioWare studio and moved it to EA Motive. Like it was just that. And actually hearing afterwards, months and months and months, I don't think Mass Effect Andromeda sold that bad. It may have not got, critically acclaimed and so on, and people that have played it may have not enjoyed it to the extent that they were hoping to, but the game itself didn't sell badly per se, so it was really weird. And to me, it's just, Amy Hennig is a really big name in video games, and it just seems like such a waste to get her away from Naughty Dog, which is her bread and butter, to get her to the studio that, by all accounts, Dead Space games were excellent. I've not played them, but I just keep hearing everyone raving about how great this IP was, at least the first 2 games, if not the last one. And then get her over there and get her working on Star Wars game, and we don't really have a Star Wars story. I know Battlefront's supposed to have one, but we didn't really have a great single player. And to get her to do something this great and something which is much needed in video games for a Star Wars license and Star Wars franchise, and then just be like, oh well, it's not going very well. And so far they're still in discussions with Amy Hennig, so they're not sure if she's gonna move to the EA, whichever one it was that is now in charge of this project. I already forgot. EA Worldwide in Vancouver.
I think it's the Vancouver office that's heading it, but it's kind of like Ubisoft. All of the different studios that they have, the satellite studios, are going to be working on it to try and get it over the line.
Yeah,
it's an interesting story, but again, I don't think we've heard everything yet. And in terms of what the future holds for that particular game, everything they've said, it doesn't necessarily turn me off of the game. It's just that the game that they were potentially making beforehand excited me more. Kind of a single player experience. Like you mentioned we haven't had a good single player Star Wars game in a while. The last one I remember was Knights of the Old Republic. That was really, really good.
Was it that single player though? Wasn't it like an MMO style game?
No, it was a single player RPG. It was from BioWare, so it was like the same.
It's the next one.
It was the precursor. Yeah, it was the precursor to Mass Effect. So without Knights of the Old Republic, Mass Effect wouldn't have been made. It's that kind of relationship.
What's their actual MMO called? I keep forgetting.
The Old Republic.
Yeah. That's why I used to play.
That's the one I was thinking about. Well, fair enough. Anyway, it's just really sad, and that EA is almost the evil corporation, and it's a well-known fact. And after this news, it just discourages me from honestly buying stuff by it, because I was actually really looking forward to this, to the Star Wars game, and now it's all up in the air. And the photograph that Visceral posted on Twitter of all the studios standing on stairs and all the people who are either going to be moved or let go, it's just really sad.
Agreed.
So the next one is, it's something that I'm looking forward to but not looking forward to, and the name is a bit stupid. So they have now announced the name for the Han Solo movie.
Guess what it is?
Solo, a Star Wars movie. It's like, that is such a shit name. That is such a shit name. Do not disrespect the love of my life.
I remember when, I didn't see this story before I saw a tweet beforehand showing an image from The Force Awakens of John Boyega and Harrison Ford, and it was the reaction of Harrison Ford of Finn calling Han Solo referring to him as Solo.
Oh,
And he
yeah.
goes, "Did you just call me Solo?" And then obviously I read this story of the name, and it was like, "Man, that's good. That's good. Yeah, this name is not good."
It says it all, doesn't it? That, like, even the character itself does not like to be referred to Solo. And here we have Solo, a Star Wars movie. I'm sorry, I'm terrified for this movie. I'm actually terrified. If it turns out to be great, I'll be so surprised.
Okay, we can't read too much into the name, right?
But we can read into the bloody
Well, yeah.
the mess of the production so far. The only hope I have is Donald Glover.
Wait, is he even still in it? He is. Sorry.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
thought I read that he had left it, but no, he's still in it.
Oh, don't make me cry.
What I'm saying is we can't seriously read into the name as being a bad thing. However, the fact that it's just called Solo, a Star Wars movie, and it's being directed by Ron Howard, so bland, and so it feeds into everything I've said before about Ron Howard as a director, that he's just a bit too safe and a bit too vanilla, that I don't know. This film could be really bad. I'm hoping for it's not, but
touch wood. Touch all the wood.
I mean, the second part of this weird news is that they finished filming. The whole post-production thing is gonna happen, but I don't know, guys.
You all know my stance on Star Wars. I love it. I've not watched any trailers for the new movie. I'm not going to watch any trailers, not going to read up anything on these. So in future months, if there is news that is Star Wars related, hide it from me. Adore Han Solo, and I just don't want them to ruin him. Please don't. Otherwise I might cry, and I might regress into the fact, like, similar fact that there's only 3 Indiana Jones movies. I don't want to have to regress. So we'll see.
yeah, I think this one for me, I'm actually going to be looking forward to the trailer for this, purely so that I can kind of see, do they get it? Do they know what the tone of this needs to be? And the trailer will kind of make that decision.
It needs to be cheeky bugger.
Yes.
Yeah, which they could have done with the previous directors, but I'm not sure Ron Howard can pull this off. Anyway, we did have this discussion a couple of episodes ago, so let's move on.
So, Venom must have one hell of a screenplay. So, we've got the cast for Venom, which includes Tom Hardy, Reed Scott, Michelle Williams, Riz Ahmed, Jenny Slate. Love Jenny Slate. Writers is Scott Rosenberg, Jeff Pinker, and Kelly Marcel. Ruben Fisher to redirect. I don't know who that is. What's he done?
To Google!
It's our favourite superpower.
Oh, man. Okay, Zombieland, good.
Oh, fantastic.
Gangster Squad, not quite as good. 30 Minutes or Less, again, not quite as good. 2 Night Stand, Jesus, okay. I'm not really sold, I'll be honest.
So was Zombieland the only good one?
Yeah, it looks like. I've just had a brief Google, and that's, I'm not sold. I'm not sold on
Well,
that.
it's looking to be released next year. Is there any hint on plot or anything?
Well, Venom is kind of antagonist and sort of villain from the Spider-Man universe.
Love Venom.
And obviously after Spider-Man Homecoming, Sony went, well, that made money. Let's make more things in the Spider-Man universe. Tom Hardy, who is Venom, plays the journalist Eddie Brock. He's the, antagonist to Peter Parker. That's pretty much it. The black goo, it's some kind of space thing that comes to Earth, isn't it?
A symbiote. Well, that's the thing. That, like, we have the Venom that people are probably more aware of, which was the one that appeared in Spider-Man 3.
Oh, that was terrible.
That was really terrible.
Emo Spider-Man, and then Topher Grace as Eddie Brock, which was shocking, because Eddie Brock's meant to be a jock. So it doesn't work. Sorry.
However, this might not be going in that direction, because I'm aware of, but I haven't actually read any of these. I'm aware that there are other Venom stories, basically different characters who get the symbiote.
Oh yeah, there's like a Venom squad at one point. I've got a Deadpool comic where there's a Venom squad that are going to kill Deadpool, and he kills them, and the symbiote joins with him. But Deadpool's too psycho, so the symbiote has to leave.
That sounds like a Deadpool comic.
Love it.
Certainly does. But exactly, there's like different versions of Venom. So obviously you have the antagonist version to Spider-Man, but I know that there's also one, and I had read rumors that this is what this was going to be about, but it might have changed. I'd read rumors that they were going to go with the Venom symbiote being used by a military professional, like a mercenary.
Oh, yeah, so that's the that's kind of like the squad that
exactly
was sent to deal with Deadpool. So they do have like their own story arc.
Exactly. So it's like the character trying to wrangle the symbiote to do what they want while not trying to allow it to do what it wants. And it's kind of like the Hulk or something. I don't know. This film is, as you mentioned, like the cast is freaking awesome, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do. But the weird thing is, like, the amount of comments that have come out about this, whether this is actually related to the MCU now, or whether it's Sony's own cinematic universe.
I think it is. I think it actually is not. I think it's less Marvel partnership than the Spider-Man Homecoming. I think it's more of the Sony's prerogative with this one.
This could be This could get confusing for the audience. They don't know whether Tom Holland's Spider-Man might show up in this one or not. So there's a lot of there's a lot of unknowns with this yet.
Will this lead to a Carnage movie?
Yes, true.
Because Carnage is the best.
It's bizarre to me that all this cast are signing up to the superhero movie. I mean, Riz Ahmed, okay, granted, but like Riz Ahmed is fantastic. But Michelle
awesome.
Williams, a person who's never really been in a blockbuster before, like all her stuff is serious, indie, very dramatic stuff, and now she's suddenly signing up to Venom. Tom Hardy. Granted, he kind of flirted with Suicide Squad and so on, but still, they got Tom Hardy. All these people are joining the cast, and it just makes you feel like, what is on that script that everyone, like, either they're giving them buckets of money, literally like, come, we'll pour this bath of green and you swim in it, or the screenplay is absolutely fantastic.
I was going to say, either the script and screenplay are really, really good, or there's a lot of zeros on those paychecks. There's a few ways of getting big stars on board. We won't know, obviously, until we actually see something from it, like stills from the set or a trailer. We won't actually know what the tone is going to be or what they're really doing.
And it's not coming out till 2018, so that's going to be a while.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to watch.
So far, it's just, announcing of different casting news. That's mainly the only thing we have to go on by Venom. But yeah, it's just every week they add a new crazy name to the roster, and every week I'm getting more and more excited about the film that normally I wouldn't give a flying horse about. I don't know, I don't really care about Venom. Spider-Man, maybe. Spidey's okay, but Venom is just...
I don't like Spider-Man. I prefer Venom. I really prefer Carnage, to be honest. Okay, iPhone phenomenon. Fruit Ninja is getting not just 1, but 3 tabletop game spin-offs.
Yeah!
Why?
So this is actually a Kickstarter project that is still ongoing, if anyone wants to chip in. Because why not? And the reason why, I'm guessing, is because buckets of money. Because Fruit Ninja was so popular, let's make a board game out of it. And not one board game, but 3 board games. Card game, a dice game, and the party game. It's bizarre. I'm reading this news, and it's like 50 companies bid it for the gig with like 20 prototypes of games. And the name of the games, if you go to the Kickstarter, are just something else. So the first one, which is a deck builder, is Card Master. How original. The second one, which is a dice rolling game, is Slice and Dice. Ooh. And the third one, which is a party game, is what? Combo Party!
But this is literally a game where you swipe at a screen to cut up fruit.
Yeah.
How?
Very tangentially. If you look on the description of all these games, one of them is literally Jungle Speed. I think Combo Party is literally a board game Jungle Speed that already exists, that people play cards at the same time, and whenever their cards match, they grab. In Jungle Speed, it's a totem that you grab in the middle of a table. This one is like it's called Suka Stick, whatever the hell that is, and that's what you have to grab. So that is literally what Combo Party is, just Jungle Speed with Fruit Ninja theme. Slice and Dice is actually the more interesting one because it's been designed by a Dragon Punch creator, Cohen Hendricks, and Tim actually backed Dragon Punch on Kickstarter as well, and we do have that game, and he really, really likes it. It's like a really tiny fighting card game that you don't even have to have table to play, so you can play it in your hands, literally all that you have to do. And it has timed elements, and people roll dice. Oh man, I don't know, it just sounds like not complicated is what it is. It's like they despite apparently them having lots of prototypes and lots of ideas poured into this, none of these games look original or, something interesting. And then Card Master is another one that it needs to have a timed element, and it will also have a companion app, and companion apps in board games are all the rage now. All the fancy games now want to have a companion apps on the phone, even some of them quite required, to be fair. It's fine. Like things like Mansion of Madness Madness and XCOM the board game companion app is quite good there. But some other games are just like, well, let's be fancy, and because this is the kind of a fashion nowadays with board game, let's have a companion app, and this one looks like the case. It's just like, what? And yeah, you can still back it on Kickstarter. I mean, it already got it's reached its goal, but if you fancy to be the first one to get this board game, and if you are a fan of Fruit Ninja, you still have 19 days to go. Well, it's gonna be, 16 days once this podcast airs? 16 days to go.
Okie dokie. And finally, Daisy Ridley, Luke Evans, and Josh Gad are on for a new comedy written by Aaron and Jordan Candle. Who are Jordan Candle?
They are Moana creators, so they are people who are Moana, but guys, it's obviously been kind of a slow news week because we've been trying to. Fruit Ninja made out our news list because it was a slow news week. But yeah, there's not much news about that except that these guys are together. The writers are the writers of Moana, which is
They also wrote Aladdin, the new one.
There's a new Aladdin?
Yeah, live action with Will Smith as the genie.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, that's a huge thing.
Oh my.
How did you not know? Bloody hell.
I didn't know.
Clearly, I was very, very sheltered.
I'll find it. Carry on talking.
Yeah, you find the crazy Aladdin news.
There isn't much news on this one, except for the fact that I do remember last year and this year, leading up to the new episode 8 stuff, I do remember videos on, I think they were shared initially on Instagram, but then got reshared on multiple sites from Josh Gad, where he would kind of ambush Daisy Ridley to ask for spoilers for the new film.
Oh, yeah.
I remember videos of those. I don't know if they were filming this at that time, because I was wondering what project they must have been working on together to be kind of in the same place at the same time. So I thought it might have been some stage show, but it might be something else. But or it might be this. But yeah, they seem to have good chemistry, I'll say that much.
This is supposed to be a comedy about in the superhero genre. And my one worry is that superhero genre are clearly very popular nowadays. You can get all kinds of movies. I mean, you had comedies before, maybe a bit satirical. I mean, Kick-Ass, maybe a bit more of a satire than a comedy in itself. But they did have that before on that kind of spin, so it's not something entirely unique. And the whole superhero thing, I'm kind of scared is going to be a little bit overused. My only interest in the stories lies if they found some new interesting angle to present it in kind of a funny way. And that's why I think it might be interesting. But other than that, it's a bit more of been there, done that. Even though I'm kind of excited to see Daisy Ridley something that's not Star Wars. Because I've not really seen her in anything other than being Rey.
I've seen her in a slight cameo of Toast of London being kissed by Matt Berry many, many years ago. And that was like the only other time I've seen her in something.
Yeah, fair enough. Anyway, What's the verdict on Aladdin?
Yeah, so there was a big stink back in September because there was like the whole whitewashing situation because they were worried that they were going to cast some white dude to be Aladdin. They didn't. Guess who's going to direct it?
I'm scared.
Do you want to guess?
John Favreau. No, he's doing Lion King. Damn it.
Is someone out the left field, really? Very left field.
Darren Aronofsky?
Okay.
Guy Ritchie.
Oh.
What?
What?
Guy Ritchie.
That's not so much left field, but about 4 fields over.
Completely different continent. So we got Will Smith as the genie. We got, I don't recognize him from anything, but he seems to be in a lot of mainstream kind of stuff coming up. And he was a voice in Watchdog, various voices. So Mina Masood is going to be Aladdin himself.
Okay. You know what? For a second, I was terrified that Will Smith was going to be Aladdin, but thank God that was not the case.
He is Genie. And for Jasmine, we have Naomi Scott, who is Kimberly, the Pink Ranger in Power Rangers, the movie. The one that nobody watched because it was shocking.
No.
Okay, no.
And then Jafar is Marwan Kenzari, Dutch actor, and he was apparently in The Mummy, the remake, Ben-Hur, the remake.
No one's watching those movies. No one. No one, I say.
There's a lot of people I don't know. There's a guy called Prince Anders who's going to be in it. I'm guessing he's just like a rival prince for Jasmine's hand. But there's very little we know right now. Who is he in Into the Woods? Yeah, this guy Prince Anders is being played by Billy Magnuson.
I've heard that name.
Yeah, he was in Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. Apparently he was in an episode of Black Mirror, the USS Callister, Bridge of Spies. He was Rapunzel's prince in Into the Woods. Okay. So he didn't even have a name. That's all I really know about the Aladdin live action. Oh, and it comes out in 2019, so we got a while.
Should we have a play and see which live action Disney movie they will remake next? Obviously, Beauty and the Beast has gotten past.
Done.
Let's not watch that.
Cinderella's done.
Jungle Book has done that.
They're making another one of those.
Yeah, Lion King is in the making. Aladdin
Hang on,
is in
they're
the
making
making.
a sequel to it.
No, not a sequel. They're making another Jungle Book one.
Why?
Clearly, Little Mermaid is in the making somewhere.
Oh yeah, because they're going to do it with Chloe.
No, but that's not the Disney one.
Okay.
I think that's the Little Mermaid. Is it Hans Christian Andersen that was originally wrote this? I might be way
Yeah,
off.
no, that's correct.
Yeah, that's the C's version, and then there's a Disney version, which is all ends up very differently to what Hans Christian Andersen has imagined.
Yeah, no sea foam and cutting off legs.
That's the thing. What's really left? Little Mermaid, Sleeping Beauty. Is it time yet to bring Sleeping Beauty live action?
Possibly. Snow White.
Oh yeah.
The Aristocat.
Wait. Snow White is gonna be like the Hobbit with all the dwarfs. I think they gotta wait a little bit.
What, it'll be a 3-film arc?
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. I misspoke. The traditional Disney one was made, but you did get like 2 kind of remakes. There was the Snow White and the Huntsman. With, Kristen Stewart. And then there was the...
That must have been supported by Disney. Sorry, I totally zoned out on this movies because it had the Christian Stewart name on it, so I didn't really care.
Yeah, so that one, Snow White and the Huntsman. There's too many Snow White things on here.
There was a second Snow White thing without the Snow White.
With Lily Collins.
That was the focused on the Huntsman, though, wasn't it? The Winter's War or something like that. It was pretty terrible as well.
Yeah, because it had Emily Blunt in it as well as like another queen, as well as Charlize Theron's evil queen.
And I'm pretty sure Jessica Chastain was in it, where is, again, they must have put a lot of zeros on that check.
She was in the second one. Mirror, Mirror, that's it.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, obviously there is Maleficent as well.
Oh, Maleficent.
Maleficent,
Yeah.
there you go. That one.
Well, that's the Sleeping Beauty one.
Yeah, okay, so Sleeping Beauty's out of the way.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of what else is there. I mean, yeah, Aristocrats. I mean, yeah. Oh, well, obviously, maybe it's time to remake 100 Dalmatians. That movie is old.
Well, they made 2 of them live action. They've already done that. They started that bloody trend back in the day.
Yeah.
Bloody hell, when did that come out? How old am I? Crap, sorry.
No, don't check that. Don't check that. We don't want to know this.
1996.
No, I said don't check that.
That makes me sad. All those dogs are dead. Sorry. I just got really dark.
Wow, Lauren. Wow. Thanks for that. Can help me think of other Disney properties that are out there. Aristocats? Yeah, that's one. What else is there?
The Hunchback of Notre Dame?
Ooh.
Yes.
Wait, they are making Mulan, aren't they?
Yes, they're making Milan.
Yeah, I thought I read a story that they were making Mulan.
They're making a Dumbo.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's Tim Burton. I have so many questions about that, but for the next podcast, I'm sure.
Pinocchio.
They could make a Pocahontas, but I believe that's already been made. It's called Avatar.
Is it affiliated with Disney in some way? By the way, Avatar.
Yeah, true.
It is. Because they've got Pandora, bloody land. The islands, not the islands of adventure, like bloody Animal Kingdom, that's the one. Yeah, Lady and the Tramp. They should do that.
Ooh, what an unfortunate name in the card business.
Do they have Bambi done already?
No.
Oh, that's a Disney classic.
Yeah.
Could be a very dramatic story directed by another very unexpected director that does some crazy stuff with a poor little deer.
Robin Hood.
Well, they did have Robin Hood. I mean, I'm not sure if it was a Disney one. That's one question that I have.
The animated one was. But they have to remake it again with foxes.
I mean, I remember there was where the Sheriff of Nottingham was, help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope.
Alan Rickman?
Yes, thank you, Alan Rickman.
Oh wait, you're thinking
Everything
of the 90s
I
one.
do,
Yeah, with
do
Kevin
it
Costner.
for you. With Brian Adams. Oh crap, they did Pete's Dragon last year, didn't they?
They did.
Oh my god.
Lady and the Tramp.
Rescuers.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Totally do the Rescuers. Fox and Hound.
We spoke about Guy Ritchie. He basically did a version of The Sword and the Stone.
Yeah, he basically did. And no one watched that one either.
Yeah. DuckTales. Woohoo. If you say that, you have to do the noise.
You do.
Have to do the noise. It is the law.
It's legal.
Live action Toy Story. Sorry, I'm having fun now. Hercules.
Oh man, I love Hercules. Ooh. Who would they cast as Hercules?
The Rock. They already have.
Yes, good.
No, but they'd have to do it this time kind of like they did Steve Rogers in Captain America the First Avenger. So, like, he's little skinny one, and he's got his face merged over and it's super weird. And then he bulks up. That's what they have to do. Because if they're doing it like, who put the gladiator? Hercules! They have to do it properly.
Hercules has by far some of the best songs in Disney ever.
Oh, they are sick. They're just like banging gospel show tunes. I love them so much. Emperor's New Groove.
I
Yes.
don't know. I'm scared they're gonna ruin that. That's such a Disney darling, and I love that movie so much.
They'd have to have John Goodman come back. They can actually do it with the right people.
Mm.
David Spade and John Goodman, they can just like do it.
Yeah, Krog is my love.
Oh yeah, Patrick Warburton as well. God damn.
That's what I'm saying.
Could they do like Lilo and Stitch and have Stitch be the new Porg, basically?
I don't know this reference. I'm avoiding this reference.
Oh, okay. Whoops.
Please be
whoops,
quiet.
Whoops. Let's.
Yes.
Sorry.
Anyway, let's
so
move
sorry.
on. We had fun. Listeners, in the comments, please write what other Disney live actions they should remake and your casting choices. Yeah, we can read them out on the next podcast because, yeah, this was fun.
Tangled. That's gonna be ready for a remake. Frozen. Let's do it live action. Everything. I don't know. Okay, moving on. Alex got to go somewhere yesterday, which was Friday, that I'm very, very jealous of, because the guy who directed it is one of my favourite comedians, writers, directors in the UK. Alex, tell us about the Death of Stalin.
So I had this conversation yesterday with the people I went to the cinema with, for which I was very embarrassed, so I feel like I need to continue this embarrassment and you guys can tell me off. But before Death of Stalin, I have seen nothing by Armando Yamaguchi. Nothing.
Iannucci.
Yep, Iannucci, sorry. I can't pronounce. I struggled the whole yesterday to pronounce his name, but yeah. Anyway, there is a very impressive list of movies and things he's done that people started quoting at me, and I was like, nope.
Alan
nope,
Partridge.
Nope.
He works with Chris Morris.
Yeah,
who
heard
is
that.
like one of my all-time favourites.
Not only yours, apparently.
What?
Not only yours, apparently, as I learned. Everyone loves Chris Morris.
Chris Morris is a weirdo darling in the UK. It's like, he's very niche. Like, me and my housemates the other day, we were watching Jam again. For some reason, at 2 a.m. You should never do that, because Jam is weird as hell. Alex, never watched Jam. It is not for you, but it is amazingly decrepit and disgusting, and I love it so much. Yeah, so he's a fantastic writer. He did the Armando Iannucci show, his namesake, which is on BBC Two, which is like a little skit. And is it Bricktop from Snatch?
Yes.
You guys remember him? Yeah, like there's one skit I remember like vividly. Armando's having trouble with his washing machine, so he calls a Cockney repair guy. So Bricktop turns up and basically threatens the washing machine until it works again. And then it works again. And it's just brilliant. And then they have a cup of tea. Yeah, it's amazing. Okay, sorry. Carry on.
Death of Stalin, that might be my favorite movie of the year.
Ooh.
Because it is that good. And before anyone says that I'm prone to like it because it's obviously about my motherland, I'm gonna tell you that this movie has to go a step and beyond for me to like it, because when Hollywood makes films about Russia, I'm extra critical. And Death of Stalin, they've done their research. There is a little bit of some lettering issues where on their posters they wanted to Russify how the title looks, so they switched to the A's for the Russian D's, which makes no sense. They clearly have not done the research to find out that it's actually a D instead of an A. But that aside, everything else, they've obviously not filmed in Russia. They filmed a bit in Kiev and most of it in London. And they have some establishing shots in Russia, obviously, of Kremlin and so on. But other than that, they got all the details right. Like, there are some things that only Soviet kids know. Things like, flushing the toilets and stuff, how people would keep their suitcases next to the door. Like, kind of very little details. And even the look of the apartments. If you go into an apartment of some politician in such high standing as Khrushchev, Khrushchev, and you can see their apartments and you think, oh my god, these guys are poor, and actually they're not poor, but these are how Soviet apartments looked. They got that exactly right. And in that sense, God, I give this movie just so much respect for doing that and for doing it well, and for doing the research and for talking to people who actually live there. And another prop I'm gonna give them is that none of the actors speak in really bad Russian accent.
Oh, fair play.
They have an array of accents from Yorkshire to American to like Scousey. They all speak very differently, but none of them try to make the very bad speak with the Russian language, the English words. Like, it's horrible. And thank God they didn't do that, because I think that would have completely ruined the movie for me. Yeah, anyway, so Death of Stalin, it's pretty much what it says on the poster. After the death of Stalin, there is a political vacuum, and from that the hilarity ensues. So you have all these political figures like Nikita Khrushchev, played by Steve Buscemi, Georgy Malenkov, played by Jeffrey Tambor, Michael Palin as Vyacheslav Molenton, Simon Rasenbeil as Lavrenti Beria, and they're all kind of fighting for power in this. Obviously, because Stalin is such a figure, when he's dead there is a lot of kind of uncertainty and nervousness left in the room, and people aren't sure what to do and what is now allowed, what is now not allowed, because that period was very much, you can't say the wrong thing, you might be overheard, and you might be sent to gulags, and it was a lot of tension. So that tension kind of wraps up the comedy, especially when these characters find themselves without their leader, and now suddenly the plotting and the machinations between all these figures begin. It's hilarious. It is so funny, and the humor is absolutely top-notch. You have to do a little bit of work. Like, you can't go to that movie and switch off your brain.
Oh yeah, Amado Iannucci is like the king of that. Have you seen like In the Loop?
I've told you, no!
Oh my god,
Nothing!
you would love it!
Nothing! Literally,
Oh, the thick of it! The thick of it, In the
No!
Loop. Oh my god.
No!
Educate thyself.
Well, I will now!
Oh, it's fantastic. Carry on.
Anyway, you can't go in there to switch your brain. I would say is that if you don't know the history of the Stalinist period, you don't really need to know it. You have to kind of understand a couple of things. You know that it's a communist state, and you have to have a kind of idea what communism is in its essence, not to any kind of detail, but kind of understand. You have to understand a little bit of beginning of the Iron Curtain thing. You have to know that World War II happened just before, which hopefully everyone does just by looking at the dates, because that's kind of a little bit important. And you have to know what dictatorship is, and how dictatorship can put the strain on the country, and how terrifying it could be living under dictatorship. Within Death of Stalin, there are a few jokes that, like 1 or 2 free jokes, that you have to have a deeper knowing of history and who the people are. Like one of the jokes that made me laugh more than anything else was like a Trotsky dig. And obviously, if you don't know who Trotsky is and his relationship to the Communist Party in Soviet Union, that joke will fly right past by you. There's not a lot of that. Most of that derives exactly from that situation they're in. It derives from this uncertainty and this kind of scatter thing and people meddling and all that kind of stuff. Cast is absolutely fantastic. Every single one of them just nails their role, and it's clearly that they did some of the research. They've done a lot of research, and they put it in a very subtle and clever ways. For example, there was one of kind of a foreign ministers, or I think he was working in the embassy to America or whatever, and he traveled to America. And so his shtick was that he traveled to America and he really liked their suits. So throughout the movie, he makes just a couple of comments to how, like, oh, don't dirty the suit and blah, blah, blah. So they're like very subtle things that connect things together that you not might immediately notice, but they are there to make the story just slightly richer and slightly more substance. One thing I'll say is that I didn't think I could love Jason Isaacs more, but I now absolutely do. He, Zhukov, who is a general, he's in charge of the army, he's the man that won World War II. He kind of appears pretty much almost midway to the movie. God, he's just so good. He's so good. He's so funny. It's just fantastic. And one last thing before we move on, because I've been talking for quite a while, but what I want to mention is that obviously this is a very complicated time, because it was a very tragic time. And it was a time where a lot of people died. A lot of people lived in complete and utter terror of being taken and killed for crazy reasons. Neighbors were spying on their neighbors. Family was spying on their family and reporting to NKVD and so on. You know, Beria, by my accounts, is not as scary as Hitler, but is very close. Very close. Like, was a terrifying man. Pedophile, rapist, just killed people right, left, and center. Like, he was horrible. Just, like a figure. It was like a shadow monster inside that area of Soviet Union. It's just terrifying, man. So, the time was really tragic. So, the movie was very careful about what things are funny and what things we have to show the way they are. Because obviously it is a comedy, but it's a very dark comedy. There are some really grim scenes in there, and there are the scenes of suffering and death that they didn't laugh at, which is great. They showed them as they are. So it's terrifying, some of the things that they're showing, for a good reason. And to balance seeing something so upsetting and the next minute laughing at something ridiculous that those politicians have done is a really hard balance to do, and they've done it just absolutely perfectly. It works. And even at some other things you're laughing, you know the scary undertones of why this is funny, especially in that age. You know, people going, hope we're not gonna get killed for not delivering this music thing to Stalin, whatever. It's terrifying, and the balance is really a thing that they nail down. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Watch Death of Stalin. Apparently it's based on the comic called Death of Stalin that I've not read, but maybe check out the comic as well. But the movie, so good. Best thing I've seen this year, absolutely by far. Pacing, the characters, the performances, the humor. You walk away thinking about it, the research. Top-notch movie. Just go watch it now. Now.
I have some good news for you, Alex.
Yes.
The thick of it is on Netflix, so you have something to watch next.
Good.
Oh, and it's Peter Capaldi.
Yes.
Okay. I don't feel one way or another about Peter Capaldi, I'm going to be honest with you.
You'll like him after this.
No, he's good in this.
Okay.
It's the thing that kind of like stuck him out for everyone.
Cool.
Lots of swearing then. Okay, Diarmuid, you've been watching something.
Yes, so it seems like I can't go a few months without talking about this, but that's because they keep releasing stuff a few months apart. So what can I do? Yeah, so season 4 of Voltron, Legendary Defender, dropped on Netflix last Friday. The entire season is available. However, season 3 dropped earlier in the year. That was only 7 episodes. This season 4 is 6 episodes. So to be honest with you, you could basically put them together and it wouldn't be that much of an issue in terms of the show. I've talked about this show before, so you're all kind of well aware that I highly recommend it. This season was very good as well. I don't want to talk about the story too much because unlike other shows or children's shows or animated cartoons or whatever you want to call them.
Animus.
Exactly. The story from one episode to another leads in. So it's like one continuous story. They're not episodic.
So it's actually a plot.
Exactly. And that's why I don't want to kind of talk about the plot of season 4 if people who are listening haven't watched the others. I would strongly recommend watching the others when you get a chance. Each episode is about 20 minutes. It's really easy to just kind of dip into. You get one of those kind of feelings when you're watching that show with Netflix popping up saying, "Are you still watching?" You're like, "Stop judging me."
Oh, you can turn that off.
Can you?
Yeah, apparently. I don't know if it's just browser, but there's a setting. So if you go into options, it's like, yeah,
I need to check the PlayStation 4 app to see if it has that.
Oh yeah,
then.
and like it like removes the was it like 20-30 second like countdown? Just like, nah, I ain't waiting, just put it on.
Just go straight. Just go straight into the next one.
Don't let me sit with my sadness. Put it on.
Don't let me think about what else I should be doing. Let me just continue on. All right, so just in case anyone has not heard of this before, the very basic kind of top level thing is there is a defender of the universe, Voltron. He's a 100-foot tall or meter tall robot comprised of 5 lion mechs that are piloted by 5 paladins.
So he's like a Jaeger more than anything.
Exactly, very similar, except in this one it's just 1 pilot rather than 2 pilots for the things.
Because when I think of robot, I think of autonomous.
Yeah. Sorry, I should kind of specify that. So they are Voltron is the good guy. fighting on the side of the good ones, and the bad ones are the Galra Empire. Empire should kind of tell you all you need to know, and that is it's very kind of like, that's a very generic sort of explanation as to the whole thing. Like, you've the Empire versus the people who are trying to take back the universe and all that kind of stuff. But it's a lot deeper than that, and the characters in it are actually a lot more defined than I've seen in almost any other animated show like this. Like, there's real character to them. This season in particular focuses not every episode, but there's like a few episodes at the start that focus on like one of the paladins in particular. It kind of tells a particular story from their point of view, and you really get to know them more, and you get to follow them, and you kind of, by the end of it, you realize just how much you want them to succeed and how much you've kind of started investing in them. There is a particularly good episode. This particular episode just features Pidge, who is one of the members of Voltron, or one of the paladins. Since the first season, you've known that she has this kind of one ongoing storyline of her own kind of aim for being a paladin and what she wants to achieve while she's in that group. And this season, you finally get a proper episode that focuses just on her and what she wants to do. And what I really enjoyed about that particular episode was that there was lots of opportunities for it to delve into cliche and it to be written in a certain way that would kind of reset everything back to the way it was at the start of the episode, so that nothing had to change with the rest of the show, if you know what I mean. So, you know, when something big happens to a character, by the end of an episode, it usually reverts back so that the next episode can kind of continue on with a blank slate.
Oh, like a CW show?
Exactly. It's one of those cases where this show, and this is what I really like about it, is not afraid to completely change up the way the team is made up, or what characters have been introduced, or in some cases what characters are killed off or whatever. The way the show is written, it's very dramatic, actually. And it keeps you invested, and that's why I really enjoyed it, because it's just really well done, really well animated. It obviously looks very good. The voice acting, the talent on show are really, really good. I keep mentioning it, but like Stephen Yeun from The Walking Dead is in this as one of the main characters, and he's brilliant. Tyler Labine, I don't know if you've heard of that guy. He was in Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Yeah, I love him. Is this live action or animated?
No, this is animated. He does the voice. And there's a bunch of other people that are involved, and it's just a really good show. I'm not going to talk about it too much more because I can't really talk about it much more without spoiling stuff. So I'm going to leave it at that and just say that if you have a kind of a gap in your schedule for a new show, this is worth watching. There's already been about 30 or so episodes across the 4 seasons that have streamed so far. They're all pretty much good. The only negative I want to mention in particular about this season is I've mentioned in the past how there is little to no filler. However, because this season was so short with 6 episodes, there was one episode that I would consider filler, and because it's 1 out of 6 rather than 1 out of 23 or whatever a normal other show would be, it stands out a lot more, and it's a bit more annoying that it's there when it really didn't need to be. So there is one episode this season, you'll know it when you get to it, that felt just a bit unnecessary.
But surely if there's only 6 episodes, they shouldn't need filler episodes?
Well, yeah, exactly, which is kind of why I was a bit annoyed with it. They didn't really need this particular episode at all. Now, I understand when a show has 20 or so episodes, there's going to be those episodes in there that do not progress this plot too much, because if they do, they're going to have to keep making up lots and lots of plot to fill it all in. But like, as you say, with 6 episodes, they really don't need that. So it was just a bit annoying that they had it in there. Other than that, though, I still think it's one of the best written animated shows I've watched in quite some time. It's well worth watching, and yeah, I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm just going to leave it there.
I mentioned that this was coming back this week, last week, but Crazy Ex-Girlfriend started up again on Netflix. I haven't caught up on this week's Riverdale, so I'm sorry, people, you'll get 2 Riverdale roundups next week. Woo! I'm naming things. Yeah, so Crazy Ex-Girlfriend came back, and I absolutely adore it. It's the 3rd season. Rachel Bloom is absolutely fantastic. I've mentioned some of her shorts and songs from YouTube many, many times, even before Crazy Ex-Girlfriend came on. One of my favourites is F Me, Ray Bradley. This one comes back. Rebecca's having issues. The character. She's, spoiler, she's just been jilted, and she's trying to get her life back on track. it was a pretty good season opener. It wasn't the strongest episode, I think, of them all, and the songs weren't as like punchy as some of them. The season 2 opening, there was a fantastic song. There was one dud, which is We'll Never Have Problems Again, which was okay. It was kind of like a Soul Train vibe. But this one had Where's Rebecca Bunch and Complaining About Men, which is like an 80s powerhouse female kind of anthem type thing. That one is utterly fantastic, really, really ridiculous. But I've got hopes for this season. I hope it will move upwards as her kind of path to self-realization or destruction progresses. I don't know. She is a hot mess. But it is utterly fantastic. If you've never seen it, it's just started season 3, so you've got, I think it's about 10 episodes per season, so you got like 21 already on there on Netflix, and the songs are super catchy. There's one which is Oh My God, I Think I Like You, which is about Rebecca hooking up with her mate and then realizing, oh, I actually kind of fancy you. No, it's not just about sex. I quite like you. And then there's another song about STIs. No, UTI, not STI. So urinary tract infections, and there's one song about having heavy boobs, and a song that she won an Emmy for was called the Sexy Getting Ready song.
My favourite song from the show. It's so good.
Dee, have you heard this one?
I need to watch this show.
You're really
selling me on it.
Even if you don't watch the show, on her YouTube channel, she has the X-rated versions of all the songs with the videos. And also one which is Settle For Me, which is about this guy going like, I know you fancy my mate, but he's not into you, so how about me? Yeah, and it's done in like a Fred Astaire, Ginger Roberts kind of vibe, and they've got the black and white dance. It's like so catchy, and like I do find myself singing it. Darling, just settle for me. I think you'd kind of agree that we'd make quite a pair. It's just like so catchy. But Sexy Getting Ready song is kind of like the stereotypical 90s kind of girl group ballad. And it's all about getting ready to go out, but how females really get ready to go out. Like waxing, plucking.
Yeah, it might scar you, Di.
So,
or give you a fresh realization of how females get ready to go out and prep themselves to be attractive.
If you meet me one day and I'm quite pale, I've probably just watched that. Okay.
I'm in the bar later, so if you watch it today, I'll give you a drink. Okay.
A stiff one.
You won't have one after that. Sorry. Yeah. There's even like a rapping section, and the guy just goes, "Is this what you actually do? I need to apologize to some boomers." Yes. All the snaps. Okay, and finally, one more thing. This is Netflix Central again. Alex.
I kind of wanted to bring this up because I think it's weird if we don't mention this show because it's huge and it's Star Trek Discovery. Obviously, it being Star Trek, it being on Netflix, right up our alley. I will say completely honestly is that I'm probably my Star Trek knowledge comes from the recent movies, not really from the Star Trek series, so I'm really not a great person to make comments on it. I've tried my best, especially since, again, my love of my life, Jason Isaacs, sorry Tim, is in that TV show, so I tried to watch it, and, I got past the first 2 episodes, they were okay, and then I tried to watch the 3rd one, and I fell asleep during it several times, and I don't know what it is, but something about that show is off to me. Maybe it's in the pace, maybe it's in something else, but it's just a little bit boring. So, I have an expert here, Di, because he's actually watched the series in his life at all, so he's more qualified to talk on this topic than I am, so I'm gonna pass it over to you.
Yes, a Star Trek expert. Not really. I have watched some of the other episodes, or some of the other shows, excuse me, and I really enjoy Star Trek. Probably my favorite would be The Next Generation, just to give people an idea of where my Star Trek primary view is coming from. So that's the kind of the show that really got me into it. I've since kind of gone back, watched the original, and I've enjoyed to varying degrees the other shows like Voyager and Deep Space Nine and so on. So I've kind of watched all of those and I've enjoyed them. I'm not like a huge fan who's able to quote episodes and stuff, as you might the stereotypical kind of Star Trek fan that you're more than likely picturing in your head, but I still enjoy the shows. I was really looking forward to this show. We're only 5 episodes into a 15 episode season, so there's still time for it to turn itself around, in my view, or in for what I want it to be, or it can continue what it's doing. Clearly, like, there seems to be people who really enjoy it, so that's good. People have a show that they enjoy. For me, it's not Star Trek. And I think the reason for that is its setting. So the show itself takes place before the new Star Trek films. So this takes place when, for instance, the character Spock is a child still. Or a young adult. I don't know what age exactly he would be. But it takes place kind of before that. The main character is a character called Michael Burnham, who's played by, and I'm going to get this completely wrong, Sonequa Martin Green. She was in The Walking Dead more recently, as well as a number of other shows. She's a really good actress. But she plays the character of Michael Burnham. Michael is a female name. I don't know where that comes from, but anyway, it doesn't matter. Really interesting character. Not the captain, which is almost the usual thing for Star Trek, to focus on the captain and the rest of the crew. She starts off as a first officer, and you kind of learn more about her. The fact that she was an orphan at an early age. When Klingons attacked the settlement that she was in, she was rescued or taken on board, I suppose, by the Vulcans, specifically by Spock's father, who kind of raises her or brings her up within the Vulcan Academy and all that. So she kind of has, very similar to Spock, she has this sort of a Vulcan tradition in her, as well as being just growing up as a human, so she still has her emotions and all that kind of stuff. So it's interesting to see that kind of dynamic, but it's something we have seen before as well, so it's not entirely new. The show itself, because it takes place before the original kind of Star Trek, it's still a time of kind of turmoil and war. So basically the war with the Klingons has just kind of kicked off in this show, and because of that, it doesn't really feel like Trek. I have this image in my head of Trek being the ship, or wherever it's focused, is almost a utopia. It's almost like this is the ideal we should be striving for. And then each episode they come across a place that is less than that, and they learn some things about that, and then it moves on. And that's the kind of the more episodic kind of shows from the past, like Voyager and the Next Generation. This show, number one, it's kind of one storyline that's feeding one episode into the other. So that's slightly different from what we've seen before, except for maybe Enterprise. But it just doesn't feel like Trek to me. It doesn't give that same vibe. And that's the main reason I'm not getting into it. I mean, the production quality, the level of the acting, the direction, all of that seems to be good. It just isn't checking the Star Trek box for me, It's not kind of giving me what I need from a Star Trek show. And that's why I'm kind of losing a bit of interest in it. I've watched the first 5 episodes. They were decent, but nothing that kind of has me hooked yet. As I said, there's 15 episodes in this season. When it's all finished, I'm probably going to end up going back, trying to watch all of them and see if it does hook me by the end. And if it doesn't, then that's a show that I'll unfortunately have to move on from.
It's funny because you say it doesn't feel Star Trek to you. I have no idea what Star Trek is supposed to feel like, but I still can't really pin down what it is about this series that I can't get into it as much as I really want to. And like you said, I like so many people that are in Discovery. Jason Isaacs, the actress whose name I'm not going to butcher, who plays Michael, her first captain as well. So all these people are just fantastic, and they seem to be doing a fairly good job at acting, but there is something that's just missing from there. It's not there. And I'm okay. I followed Expanse through, which had a couple of very slow episodes the first season round. I was okay kind of going through that and getting past those episodes. But in Star Trek, there isn't a story. I don't know, maybe it is the story. There's not a story that makes me feel excited and interested to see what's happening next. I'm just kind of living through the moment and getting it through scene by scene, hoping that the next scene grabs me enough so I can watch the scene after that, and it's just not happening.
Yeah.
Which is sad, because I was really looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's Yeah, it's kind of disappointing. As I said, I'm going to give the show a chance. I'm going to kind of allow it, that first season to complete, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to try and brute force myself through it and see if something does pick up. But at the moment, it's just not feeling, it doesn't have its hooks in me. And we have like mutual friends who are getting that from it. So clearly there's something there. I'm just hoping that it happens for me as well. But at the moment, it's just not, which is disappointing.
It is.
Anyway, that is it for episode 110 of Big Red Barrel Geek Speak. Thank you for listening. Right, if you want to get in touch, you can do so on the socials. You can go to BigRedBarel.com, comment in the forums like these lovely people did. Alex.
Thank you very much to Stingo and Stealthy Joe.
Or you can go to Twitter at BigRedBarel and use the hashtag GeekSpeak, or you can use our personal Twitters. I'm at the Sweet Shrimp.
I'm at DustyTulip _
I'm at Diarmuid_S.
And these lovely people did as well. Diarmuid.
Yes, thank you to Will Driver at WillDriver93 and Gabriel Romo at SleeperHit79.
And apparently he's my number 3 fan in the world.
So now you're putting out the call for who's number 1 and 2.
Yeah, I'm really curious. Who are they?
I want to know. Apparently he reckons they're crazy, but it's like, yeah, well, like, we're all crazy here.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's completely fine if they're crazy. We just want names.
Yeah, so I know who to send potatoes to.
Yes.
Not this again.
Yeah. You can also go to YouTube, youtube.com/BigRedBarel All the podcasts are posted on there, and some lovely videos of people doing live streams, because Alex does one called Cookies and Booze.
Indeed it is. And last Sunday we played Shadow of War. I think it's safe to say we're not going to be playing it more because we were very, very confused.
Have you played Shadow of Mordor before?
No, I'm not. But I kind of know what it's about, and
yeah.
It's all about that nemesis system and killing the orcs, which is fun.
Yeah.
We came across the orc who was named Ashkan Giggles,
Yeah.
which is the best name in the world, and then we went and killed Ashkan Giggles. It was great.
So, because in the first one, you've got Alicia Tyler.
Oh, Aisha Tyler, yeah?
Yeah, so she's got an orc in the first one, and it's very tall with huge hands, and it's called Aisha the Drunk.
That makes no sense. I mean, it's clearly humorous. The story is a bit of a BS in my opinion, but I am very protective of Tolkien's world, and I think starting with certain director and continuing with this license, they are exploiting it a little bit too much for the handy cash and making up too many things as they go along and not being entirely respectful. But conversation for another day. But other than that, I don't know. I don't think we didn't get into it, and we've put the poll, which will be over, obviously, by the time this podcast airs.
Dude, you need to play Cuphead.
Oh, no. No.
Yes.
No.
You two should so play Cuphead.
No.
Oh,
Never
my
get
God.
It'll be an hour and a half of basically the first level, I think.
No,
Yes.
we're not playing Cuphead. That's one
Do
thing
it.
I can guarantee you, that Cuphead will not be on Cookies and Booze unless we feel in a particularly murderous mood. No, we put the poll up and it looks like we will be playing Outlast. So there you go.
Oh, that makes sense considering it's spooky times this week. You can also go to Facebook, facebook.com/BigRedBarel, and we have the Game and Night groups on there. You can go to iTunes, leave us 5-star review or whatever you think we deserve. I think we deserve 5-star. Be nice to us, be nice. And leave us a little comment on. We also have Tabletop Tuesday every Tuesday in Loading Bar in Dalston in London town. You can go along, meet some lovely people, and play some lovely board games. We have a new featured game every single week, which you can win that week just by playing. Don't even have to win your round. You just tell Tim or Alex that you played it. What's the featured game this week, please?
The featured game this week is HMS Dolores. It's a little, very quick set collecting card game with some beautiful artwork and some booty. It's good.
Booty as in treasure or butts?
Yeah, I was going to say.
No, as in treasure. Actually,
Okay.
I think Chris Turner reviewed HMS Dolores with BigRedBarel, so there's a review up there. So if you want to know more about that game, just go on BigRedBarel.com, type HMS Dolores in the search bar, and it will come up. Or I'll link it in the description for this episode, so I'll make it even easier. There you go.
I do like that we both had to ask about the booty bit because it's
Yeah.
Alex.
Yep.
It is Alex, yeah. I want to say thank you to people who came out to the Secret Weapon pub quiz this week. It's the first pub quiz I've ever written, and it seemed to go down well.
Woo!
Maybe a little too nerdy. Indy. I will be posting some of my favourite questions on Twitters, just so people can join in and have a little guess. I did a round called Poorly Described Plots, and I loved it. The next one is the 1st November. I won't be writing that one. I will be playing that one. The next one I'm writing is on the 15th of November, which is Secret Weapons 2nd Anniversary Week. So we got some fun things coming up there. I've got Indies Unplayed next Sunday. So that is Sunday the 29th. Tickets are up online if you want to go to @Indies Unplayed. Follow there, get some tickets. Tickets are free. Just come along, play some video games. And we've also got a DJ now.
Wow.
We've got a DJ set at the end of the night, which is pretty sick.
Nice.
So lots of fun things. And finally, the big thing that's coming up for Big Red Barrel and a lot of you lovely gamers around the world, it's Extra Life.
Indeed.
Yay!
So we've got a lot of things going on with Big Red Barrel. Diarmuid, do you want to take the lead?
Yeah, so we're going to be putting up a post hopefully next week or possibly early the week after, because on the 4th of November, that's Saturday the 4th, that's game day for Extra Life, and I think a number of staff members are going to be streaming games for 24 hours, all in aid of the Children's Miracle Network, and it's a really good cause, and we've been doing it for years now. If you've been following any of these podcasts, you're well aware of it. But if you're not, it was created by one of the members of the Sarcastic Gamer, Doc. And it was from there, it's kind of grown to the size that it has all through kind of hard work of gamers around the world, basically. And this year we're raising money again. We're going to be streaming, as I said, pretty much all day. Just like last year, I believe there's going to be a Forza delivery van race again. I don't know the details of that. I won't be part of that one, but I think the rest of the guys are going to be putting up details on their personal Twitters and whatnot. There's also going to be a Destiny 2 raid, which hopefully won't end in tears.
Here's the thing. My power is 249. I'm debating whether to grind and join you guys for the raid, or is it not worth it?
I think it would be fun if you could join us.
Okay.
I think if you're 249, I think you should get up to at least
270, I thought, no?
260 would be the absolute minimum, because that's what you need before you can actually do it. 270 to make it somehow possible that we might actually get there in the end. So it's one of those things. But it's entirely possible to grind that. It's easy enough to get up the power levels once you do the weekly milestones. So if you need any help with that, obviously you can obviously join the Big Red Barrel Destiny clan, which I know you're a part of. But it's that's where we're all kind of playing week in and week out, so you can jump into our games and help us along, and, you know, we can play together and have fun. So we'll be doing that in Extra Life as well. And right now we're still, I think, finalizing plans. I know Cookies and Booze are also going to be streaming. I don't know if you guys have decided what you're playing yet, whether it's one game or multiple.
It's definitely going to be multiple, because one game for 24 hours, we will die. The question is what? I'm kind of thinking that we might... I know the second episode of Life is Strange Before the Storm came out, so I'm tempted, because Julia recently played Life is Strange, the original, so maybe we'll replay the first episode and play for the second one, which is new to me at some point on the stream. There's definitely going to be some Overwatch, because of course there will be. If I level up enough for the raid, I'd love to join you guys on there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, other than that, suggestions are welcome. Kind of little story things would be much appreciated, and stupid silly things as well. But we'll see. Maybe we'll really get into Outlast following this stream, and we'll just...
Fractured Butthole.
Fractured Butthole will probably feature on someone's stream, definitely.
Yeah, it'll probably feature on Tim's stream, but...
So if you have the money to spare, if you wouldn't mind supporting us, that would be greatly appreciated. I'm sure the links will be posted on this episode as well. But as I said, there's going to be a post next week or early the week after that's going to have all of the links on there, and all of the links to the streaming pages as well, so you can follow us on the day. If you don't have the money to spare, that is absolutely fine. If you could share our tweets, share it with your friends, and hopefully we get a few donations from them, that would be really great. Or just join us and keep us going. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to Extra Life this year. So I think it's going to be fun.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
Fantastic. Right, we are severely over. So I think for episode 110 of BigRedBarel Geek Speak, I have been Lauren.
I have been Butts, and I'm gonna cry while I edit this episode.
I've been Diarmuid. I'll be patting Alex metaphorically on the back from afar.
Thank you.
And we bid you goodbye.
Bye. Butts.
You and your ears are quite welcome.
For the podcasting goodness that you just heard.
Why not roll on over
To BigRedBarel.com
for more podcasts?
news, reviews, and videos from the biggest, reddest site on the internet. BigRedBarel.com